from David's Bridal. Let's give them a minute. I love when they join us. There they are. Hi.
Hi, Maggie. How are you?
I'm great. I was just telling everyone as we're getting ready to go live right now at 1:30 that I'm so excited. I love when we get to do these question and answers. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Maggie Lord. I'm head of wedding planning here at David's Bridal. If you're new to these fun Ask Maggie lives, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. So I'm going to give our friends another minute to join before we go in on all of these great questions.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Maggie, can you remind everyone what are we talking about today?
Yep, that's right. So we're talking today about all the events that surround the big day, because just because you have your one wedding day, we know that there's so many other things that go in to making the entire wedding experience. So today we're going to tackle all those other sort of events. So think bridal shower, honeymoon, everything else that goes along with the big day. So as I said, I'm Maggie Lord, head of wedding planning, and I've got my friend Laura from David's Bridal with me today. So Laura, let's jump in. What do you got for me?
Let's start with the bridal shower. So when in your engagement should a bridal shower be hosted, Maggie?
Good question. It's one that comes up a lot on my diamond consultations, right, where I can have one-on-one time with the bride to talk through everything. And it's usually about 2.5, maybe 3 months, but I think 2 months before the big day is kind of the perfect time. It's like getting you really excited for the big day. You're almost there, but you're not too far away. So I think 2 months is my ideal time. If it had to be 3, that could be okay too.
And who typically hosts the bridal shower?
Right. So the bridal shower is traditionally hosted by the bridesmaids and the bridal party. More in like today's world, we're seeing that the mother of the bride and mother of the groom are getting very involved in planning that event, whether they're helping from a financial standpoint or they're just helping with the overall look and feel. So it really is, the core group is the bridal party. And then, of course, you might see the mother of the bride jump in as well and help plan that event.
Love it. Maggie, I've got a question, and this is in my own personal interest here. How do you politely tell your guests you don't want to open presents at your bridal shower?
Yes. Okay. This is a huge debate. I have talked about it with brides who are on both sides of things. I will tell you that maybe perhaps an older generation really gets a little bummed out when the bride doesn't open everything. But I will tell you, and I've spoken to many brides, it's a very hard spot to be, especially if you're a little shy or it's just not really your vibe, to be up there and have to open up everything and go, oh, wow, thank you for giving me a teapot, can be a lot. So here's what I always say. You are the bride. This is your big day, right? It's about you. It's a personal preference. You just want to politely tell guests, maybe when you're, saying a little welcome intro or a little, hello to everyone, say, thank you all so much for being part of my bridal shower. I love having you with me. Thank you for all the beautiful gifts. I will be opening them privately at home, maybe with my partner, right? It's a great way to kind of just say thank you, but I'd rather do it in private.
Yeah. I love it. We got a great question that came through. What typically comes first, bridal shower or bachelorette?
Bachelorette. I believe the bachelorette should be a little bit further out. I think like around the 3-month mark is kind of ideal for bachelorette. Now it's going to be unique. Some brides want to go someplace tropical and that timing might not line up. So it's going to be unique to everyone, but traditionally bachelorette, about 3 months out, bridal shower closer to the wedding day.
Going back to the bridal shower, Maggie, is a co-ed bridal shower appropriate?
It's totally fine. They've become super popular right now. I think it's personal preference. Who do you want to surround yourself with in these special moments leading up to the big day? So of course, you call the shots as the bride. You make your decision and you run with it.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so who do you typically invite to your bridal shower?
Okay, this is a question that often comes up again because it's a little unclear. So anyone who's going to be at the wedding, invited to the wedding, should be invited to the bridal shower. Now, you can pare down how many women you're having at your bridal shower, how many guests you're going to have at your bridal shower, but you shouldn't have anybody attend the bridal shower who isn't getting an invitation to the actual wedding. So that is a tricky part that sometimes people forget. Oh, well, I'll invite them to the bridal shower. Well, if they're not being invited to the wedding, they really shouldn't be invited to the bridal shower.
Gotcha. Okay, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about bachelorette, the really fun
Okay.
stuff,
Yep.
right? So we kind of already covered, when in your engagement you typically have your bachelorette. Who pays for a bachelorette?
Yeah, I mean, they've become like a really big event now, right? Like it used to kind of be, oh, just one fun night out with your friends. And now it's become these weekends and long trips and things. And so that's where I think those questions have kind of, kind of got unanswered because they have changed into such a different type of event than it used to be. So again, it's the bridal party and then maybe some additional close friends who are putting on the bachelorette party or weekend or getaway for the bride. It's their little way to celebrate, the last couple of weeks or months before she says, I do. So it's traditionally a group, the bridal party especially, and then anybody who is also, kind of her close friend or something like that. And you can talk about it ahead of time. You can split up who pays for what. But then also I encourage the bride to speak to her friends and her bridal party and express kind of what she's looking for, if there's budget concerns, things like that.
Gotcha. Now, I've heard a bit about Nashville being the bachelor capital of the world. Is that still the case?
Somehow, and I love Nashville, but it has become the bachelorette capital of the world, which is really fun. And I think, the city itself has kind of leaned into it. There's all sorts of companies you can hire and fun events that go on and certain experiences that you can have. And I think it's really cool. So it's still being talked about as the bachelorette party capital of the world. It's a really fun city. So yeah, it's still kind of on the top of the list.
What other fun cities are you hearing as for destinations for bachelorettes, Maggie?
Yeah, so that was a question actually that came up last week in a diamond consultation that I had with one of our David's bridal brides. She was saying to me that they just couldn't find accommodations in Nashville because there's just so many parties. And so she was looking for other cities. So I suggested, I think Austin, Texas is a fantastic runner-up to Nashville. I think any big city that maybe you could get all of your girls together and it would be really fun. In Chicago, New York. I know that brides also have looked at places like Napa, right, in Florida, right, and they choose, or in California, and choose to do something like that and make it a wine event. So there are other options outside of Nashville. It might just take a little bit digging to figure out the right one.
Right. It all depends on what you want for your weekend too, right?
That's right.
I'm going to switch back to bridal shower. Do you have any advice on what to wear to a bridal shower? And this kind of two-part question, what to wear, and do I have to wear white to my event,
Yes.
my wedding?
Okay, so you don't always have to wear white. I think a lot of times the bride likes to do that because she's going to stand out and it's her kind of day, right? To continue to have that bride vibe. So if you would like to wear white to all of your events, you absolutely can. So let's kind of take this question into two different avenues here. Number one, if you're a bride attending your bridal shower, you can think about a short white dress, a pantsuit. You can do a skirt and top. It's really kind of, I would say like something that's like really appropriate for a beautiful luncheon sort of style. But you don't have to wear white. White is just kind of like, it's the bride vibe, but you don't have to. You can wear any color that you want, make it as unique and personal as to who you are. Now, if you're attending a bridal shower and you're kind of questioning what should I wear, usually I always suggest some sort of skirt and top. I think a pantsuit is always wonderful. Jumpsuits are fantastic, right? Very comfortable in work. Of course, some sort of dress option always looks good if you're the guest at a bridal shower.
I love it. Maggie, can you talk a little bit about what a bridal luncheon is?
Yes. So this is actually one of those events that not that many people know that much about. So it used to be more of a Southern tradition where the bride got her bridal party together either the day before or 2 days before, and they had a brunch. And it was a time for the bride to thank her bridal party. She gave her bridesmaids each a little gift for being part of her journey. But as we've seen this kind of trend go, national, it's becoming hot again. It was kind of an old-fashioned sort of thing to throw, and now it's becoming super fun again. So I love it. So the bridal luncheon would consist of your bridesmaids, and then maybe a couple other VIPs of if it was the mother of the bride, mother of the groom, those other sort of special people in the wedding.
Gotcha. All right, let's go back to right after you get engaged, your engagement party. Who typically, do you have to have an engagement party? Who hosts it, and who should be invited?
Sure. So one, you don't have to have an engagement party, but it is really fun. It's kind of the kickoff to this whole year or however long your wedding planning is going to be. And it's a really fun way, especially if both sides of the families haven't met or something like that. And, of course, as a couple, you want to get your close friends together and kind of celebrate this big day. So I suggest that it should be about 1.5 to 2 months after you've gotten engaged, because you want to have some of the details already ironed out for your big day, because people are going to ask, where is it? When is it? So you don't want to do it too soon. So I'd give it about 1.5 months, 2 months, 2.5 months. That kind of mark is perfect. You as the, as a couple can host the event yourself, of course, and really see it as you're celebrating this big moment in your life, but you're bringing your families together to meet. You can host it. It could be hosted by a friend. It can be hosted by one side of the family. It's really kind of just whatever your personal vibe is that's going to be perfect, that makes you feel special and excited about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk post-wedding then, honeymoon. Do I have
Yes.
a honeymoon right after my wedding?
No, 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 no. You don't have to go. I think traditionally that was the idea, that the honeymoon was a way to escape from the stress and the madness and celebrate, like, oh, that big day. And it was so great. And then you kind of take this private time as a couple and just start to really spend some time together as a married couple and relax and enjoy the time together. We are seeing that most couples are not taking their honeymoon directly after the wedding. And it's probably for a couple of reasons. I think travel has been delayed and very hard for the past couple of years. I think that people are also realizing that, sometimes it's very hard to leave right after the wedding, right? You have so much going on. So I think the best thing is that if you want to leave the next day, and that's, kind of what your vision has always been, you absolutely can take it in that direction and go. I will say that more common for what I'm seeing is that people will take a couple of days or 3 or 4 days after the wedding, maybe just go away someplace close to where they live, and then they actually plan their honeymoon for maybe a month later or 2 months later, and they take their larger honeymoon at that point.
Gotcha. And are there any trending honeymoon locations that you're hearing about right now?
Yes. So, a couple of years ago, it was really hard. All honeymoons had to be a little bit more domestic because, as we know, it was really hard to travel. So now what we're seeing is that couples are really excited to explore international again. I will say, if you're looking on the domestic side, Hawaii still comes up as like the number 1 place for couples to honeymoon. There's so many options with hotels and the beaches and everything, just the natural beauty. Puerto Rico has come up as a very hot spot as well. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more international, recently brides have been told me that they're planning for Italy honeymoons. They're planning honeymoons in Greece, which is really fun. So I think those are kind of spots right now that brides feel like you can mix a lot of culture and yet still have beautiful surroundings and kind of really enjoy the more international feel to things.
I love it. Makes me want to plan a trip now.
Yep.
Okay, we just got a good question about, does David sell any honeymoon essentials?
Absolutely. David's has so much more than, just dresses and everything else. So we have things for your entire wedding, from decor to things for your bridesmaids. But yes, we have honeymoon things. I love, my personal favorite, I love the hat that says bride, because, right, you're on your honeymoon, you get to wear that hat one time. I love that. You can check that out on davidsbridal.com. And there's a lot of other fun things like tote bags and things that really kind of just make the honeymoon really special.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, post event, but your next day after your wedding, do you have to host a farewell brunch? And if so, what does that look like? Who hosts it? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, let's talk through the farewell brunch, because again, it's one of those events that not everybody knows goes along with a wedding, and you don't always have to, have one. It's up to kind of the couple. So traditionally what a farewell brunch is that it was a chance to thank your guests as they're leaving and traveling back to where they came from. And it was usually, like a brunch at a hotel or someplace kind of a central location, so that people can, say goodbye one last time. Typically the bride and groom would host it. It would be, they would be part of the planning process for that. So what we're seeing trending with farewell brunches is that now people are not having them be long events or like super short events, and that they have great take and go options. And like the couple has put together a cute little basket, thanking them for coming, sending them on their way to wherever they traveled from. And again, the most popular things are some little food items in there. Maybe it's like, something else fun from the city where you just got married. But the farewell brunch is optional. If it doesn't fit into your budget, you don't feel like you have to. I did talk to a bride the other day who said it is not in her budget to host it for everyone again. So she is going to have a food delivery service drop off a cookie or like some sort of like pastry treat and a coffee to everyone as they leave, which I thought that is so fun.
Yeah, it's not a nice personal touch. Again, saying thank you to everyone who joined you.
Yep.
And your fiance. Okay, so let's talk rehearsal dinner now. Who typically attends a rehearsal dinner? Does it have to be the night before your wedding? I mean, I know historically it's always been the night before, but what's that look like?
Yeah. So the rehearsal dinner is the chance for everybody who has a role in the wedding, plus your VIPs, think grandma, grandpa, right? Those sort of people, to run through the ceremony. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer than you think, right? And everything will be worked in. The music will play, right? So it's really the dress rehearsal for the big event, right? Typically it was always hosted the night before, and then you had some sort of, after party or dinner for everybody who was involved. So traditionally, the groom's family would pay for this event, and that was their big contribution. Of course, we see that that's not always standard anymore. It's a combination of one side of parents, both sides of parents. The couple sometimes will host it even themselves. One of my favorite tricks actually is to host it 2 days before your big day. So if you're having a Saturday wedding, I love a good rehearsal dinner on a Thursday, because then it frees up Friday night to have a much bigger welcome party for your guest and drinks, and invite everyone who's going to be at the big day with you the next day to get together. So that's my favorite trick. If you can make it work for you, definitely try. You're going to love having a Friday night little welcome party and already have the rehearsal dinner out of the way.
Totally agree. We got a good question here that came through. Do you have to invite your sister-in-law to your bachelorette party?
Wow. Family politics are very tricky when it comes to weddings. We know that, right? So, again, you're the bride. The people that you're supposed to have at these events is really up to you. There's no hard written rule. Now, do you want feelings hurt leading up to the big event? That might be something you have to think through. But there is no mandatory list for these sort of events, especially bachelorette. You can take it and have it just be your crew from, high school and college, or maybe years before, and not invite everybody who's kind of, close to you. So again, it's one of those situations, no hard and fast rule, make it work for you. And communication is really the key to not being stressed with wedding planning.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about bridesmaids proposals. We know they're really popular. They're fun, a nice way to celebrate the special bridesmaids in your life. What's the best time to propose to them if you're planning on doing kind of a proposal?
Yeah, this is one of those trends that I have watched just completely grow and swell, and I love it. It's so fun. So this, I'd say over the past 5 years, this has become from something really small to like an actual event. So when you propose to your bridesmaids, of course, you're asking them, will you be my bridesmaid? Will you be part of my bridal party in this journey, right? And they're there to support and help you. The most kind of common way that I'm seeing is that a bride will get all of her bridesmaids together, whether it be for lunch or for dinner, ask them all, to be part of her bridal party, and then give them something small. So my favorite thing is at David's, we have this great box that you can fill with all sorts of goodies and then give to all your bridesmaids. I think that's really fun. And it's just a great way to communicate how much you appreciate them and that they're going to be with you through this process. The earlier you can do it, the better. So once you have kind of just decided who's going to be in that bridal party, I would definitely try to get that sort of proposal thing going early in the planning process.
Sure. Another great question came through. We've got someone is writing a speech for her best friend's rehearsal dinner. Any tips on speech writing?
Okay, so I have if you've joined our lives before, if you watch my Instagram takeovers every week that I do on David's Bridal, you will know that I have a lot of opinions when it comes to the speeches that are delivered. So one, let me just go back and reiterate to brides. Try to decide who's going to talk at your wedding and give those speeches, and not have it be so many people, right? The mother, father of the bride want to welcome, maybe the mother and father of the groom want to say something, that's fine. Then you have maid of honor, and best man, something like that. Try to keep the list of people who are talking somewhat limited. The other thing is you really want to encourage whoever is speaking to not read it off their phone. It really doesn't look great in the pictures later. And I feel like when you're a guest sitting in that room and someone's holding the phone like this in front of them, there is like a disconnect, right? So I encourage people to write it down on a small note card, something like that. If you can memorize it, that's even better. But really what the heart of what you want to say in some of these speeches is how much you appreciate the people, the new journey that they're on together, that you've been there to support them, and that you're celebrating this moment. And I always say, try to keep it under 3 minutes. That's my big advice.
That is excellent, excellent advice. I'm going to switch back over to the bridal shower. So how can you communicate that you don't want to play games at your bridal shower?
Yeah, so, this is really something that more people ask me than you would think. And for a lot of brides, they really don't want to have to play those games. Can you guess how many Hershey Kisses are in a vase, something like that? So as the bride, if you don't want to have something like that, it's your job to communicate to whoever is hosting these events for you exactly what you would want. Okay, they might have their opinion, but really this is celebrating you. So as long as you can be clear and communicating and say, thank you so much for hosting this for me. This is really exciting. Here are some alternative ideas I have so that I really don't want to play games. So don't just say that there's a problem, I don't want to play games. Come with a solution in mind, and that will help. And there's a lot of fun things. You don't have to play games to make that special shower feel really fun.
And kind of continuing off that, if you're a bride and you've got a certain aesthetic or theme that you see for your bridal shower, how do you communicate to those who are throwing the shower or hosting it, so to speak?
Yeah, this is one of those tricky situations I think that brides can get into because they get really crazy grabbing inspiration and they've got a million Pinterest boards going and things like that, which is great. And I support all of that. I think it's one of my big tips is about having visuals to be able to communicate your ideas. But what happens is things can get super expensive and you have really fancy taste when it comes to that vision board. But in reality, trying to pull it off is hard. So if you have inspiration and you share it with your bridal party or whoever's hosting these events, explain to them what it is about it that you love, right? So, make sure that you say to them, I don't need this many florals, but this is just the floral style I liked, or these are the colors I liked, right? So inspiration is great because it really helps us kind of think through how the event should look and feel. But sometimes it's hard because we look at it and it's unachievable. Right. So share inspiration, but then also share what about that picture has been speaking to you. And I think then that's going to help them be able to create an event that, is worthy of what you've been dreaming about.
That's excellent advice. We got a question about, can a groomsman also be a flower man, or should those two roles be separate?
I have seen over the years the most amazing changes in who plays what role, right? So again, untraditional is kind of like the new traditional as that we're seeing in wedding planning. I have seen groomsmen be the flower girl, the flower boy. It's really cute. It's become trendy. I've seen it through social media. There was a fantastic story that came out a handful of years ago about two grandmothers who were in their 90s who were actually walked down the aisle and threw the flower petals. So I encourage brides to break whatever rules you think there are and just make the day perfect for you and your partner. And at the end of the day, when you look back on that, those are going to be the things that you remember the most.
Absolutely. I love that. We talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but for those who may have joined us later on, Maggie, can you talk a little bit about who's supposed to organize the bridal shower?
Yeah. So again, the bridal shower is really supposed to be hosted by the bridal party and the bridesmaids. Now, I was saying in today's world, I'm really seeing a lot more mother of the bride or mother of the groom or partner get involved as well. But traditionally, it was hosted and paid for by the bridal party.
And do you have advice on how to handle those conversations when people kind of come to you talking about what they may want to host or provide funds for certain events around the wedding? How do you kind of handle those conversations?
Yeah, I think, there's wedding planning is stressful, and a big chunk of that stress comes from the financial planning of these things. And as we're talking about today, we're talking about all the other events that go into wedding planning, right? That actually might not be all part of that big budget that is for your big day. So when it comes to financial things or who's paying, it's best if everyone can be clear, and communication, I've said it before, I'll say it again, having a good communication flow is going to reduce the amount of stress that happens in wedding planning, especially when you have friends and family in the mix. So I think if a bride is expecting something of her bridal party, she should tell them up front, this is, you know, what you'll be expected to pay for, and this is the budget that we're trying to stay in. You know, and then also as a bridesmaid, and we spoke about this in one of our other live events, that you have the opportunity to speak up and ask the bride to give you an idea of what the budget that you'll have to spend for all the things, including your bridesmaid's dress and what you're responsible paying for if it's bachelorette or bridal shower. And that's going to give just everybody peace of mind. Brides are going to feel good because they've got a happy bridal party, and bridesmaids are going to feel good because they're going to have had the information early on and be able to budget if they have to.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about vendors? So you're looking at your vendors for your wedding, your photographer, florals. Do you have to use those same vendors across all the events surrounding your wedding?
You don't. It is a common question about photography, especially. Should you use the same photographer for all your events? Sometimes that works out if you contract with the photographer early on in your planning process, and they can be at your engagement party and everything in between. That's great because you're going to have such continuity with the style of images. You're going to be happy with that after. You don't have to use the same vendors, but I sometimes think that it can help. I do suggest that if you were working with a photographer for your big day, that you should have brought into the package that they will photograph the rehearsal dinner as well. Make sure that's part of the package that they're covering for you. There are really great pictures. You're going to want those memories from the day. But as far as the other events, you don't have to work with the vendors that you've contracted.
That's good to know. And how about engagement photos? Do I have to get engagement photos taken?
Yeah, that's a good question. Some couples, I think they want to use them for their wedding website. They're going to use them for their save the dates. You know, so absolutely. The thing with engagement photos is that sometimes couples get super excited and they want to do their engagement photos really early on, but they don't have, it's not the same photographer that they are going to use for their wedding, right? They haven't discovered them yet. And that's okay as long as you are okay with the fact that you're going to probably have different styles and different looks by using different photographers. But I do encourage somebody out there to actually book an engagement session. Even if you don't publish the photos or use them, it's capturing this moment in time that's super special. And you'll then forever have those moments, even if you never publish them or do anything with them. I do suggest it.
That's great. That's excellent advice. And you mentioned, you touched briefly on save the dates. Do couples have to send save the dates?
No, they don't have to send traditional save the dates. But what I do suggest is that information does need to be sent out early on. If you're on a 12-month planning cycle, around 10 months, if possible, make sure you get your save the dates out, because you really want people to be able to bookmark that date, all right, and be able to do what they need to do to make sure that they're at your big day. So I do always encourage save the dates, whether it's electronic. I love a good save the date in the mail. It's so exciting when you open up your mailbox and there it is. But yeah, and get creative. It doesn't have to look and feel like the invitation. A lot of times people think, oh, it has to match the invitation, and I don't know what that's going to look like. You can do something completely different. You can go super silly and fun for your save the date, and then very classic and elegant for the invitation.
That's awesome. So events surrounding your wedding, rehearsal dinner, your bridal shower, do these have to be, a formal sit down type of event, or can it be a little more casual?
Yeah, they definitely can be. I think the best sort of bridal showers that I've ever been to are ones that are really fun and festive and encourage people to mingle and chat, right? You get to meet other important women in the bride's life. That's really fun. Some rehearsal dinners, the more plated sit down ones, it kind of feels like the actual wedding. And so you're kind of stealing a little bit of that wedding day thunder. So I do think that it's fun that for a rehearsal dinner, it's a little bit more casual style, allows people to mix and mingle. Wedding day, actually, you don't have as much time for family members to connect and talk and meet each other. So I do think a casual style engagement or a casual style rehearsal dinner is probably best. But again, it's always up to what the bride and the couple has been dreaming about. It's individual preference.
That's excellent advice. Maggie, we're just about at time. We've covered a lot of information around events surrounding your wedding. Do you have any, kind of one or two final tips and tricks you'd like to share?
Yeah, I just say that a lot of times people get stressed as they're planning their wedding and events keep getting added and then it runs up the budget and everything else. So when you sit down to look at your budget, your venue, your date, put in if you're thinking of having the rehearsal dinner, if you're going to have all the traditional showers and things, it's going to help you stay organized as opposed to later on being like, I forgot I was going to have this event and now it's added more stress, more planning, more budget. So that's kind of my advice there. And then of course we have, Ask Maggie takeovers every week, on David's Bridal. And so you have a chance to get your questions in. I'll answer them for you. And I, love to connect with brides through our David's Bridal loyalty program, our Diamond loyalty program, where you can actually get a one-on-one conversation with me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Maggie. This was great.
All right. It's nice to see you. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.